Bakery's open, bitches. We got a champion in the building, y'all.
Blake Cheesecake Torsion, the next rising star in the MMA Amateur League.
I never thought I'd go for belt, but I just kept winning. My first fight, even though I won, I only won because I got less tired than the other guy.
What does training look like?
Calisthenics, it's long endurance training, it's sparring, and every training session is just hell. You sweat during training so you don't bleed during the fight. This particular fight, he just kept talking shit for like a month straight, and then he showed up to the weigh-ins in a full gladiator armor suit. He was 6-0, so I'm gonna give him his first L. So I had a cheesecake with an L on it. If you chase a knockout, you're not gonna get it. It's always the punch you don't feel, like the punch that's like the lightest, that ends up catching somebody. When you're a fighter, yeah, it's basically you just say goodbye to carbs. Just high protein diets, like almost no carbs, lots and lots of water, like talking like a gallon of water a day. Whenever you go into a fight, like this is probably the biggest thing is
So, Blake.
Hey, Rich.
Welcome to the podcast, man. Oh, man, the champion. We got a champion in the building, y'all.
Exactly, man.
And so, I mean, people can get a sense of, probably what you got going on. But for the people that don't know you, introduce yourself real quick.
Hey, everybody. My name is Blake Torsion, also known as Cheesecake. I'm an MMA fighter. That's like my moonlight passion, I'd say. A soon-to-be pro at the end of this year. Number 2 in Florida.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. Number 2 in Florida. So how many guys is that out of?
Dang. I need to double check that. It's definitely more than 1,000 though.
Wow.
I'd say, yeah. For
For
all the amateur fighters, so it's everyone that's in Florida that fights at 145 for amateur. So yeah.
Number 2 out of definitely more than 1,000. That's intense. And so there's a lot of questions, a lot of things that we got to unpack here. And so, let's take it back first. And so, growing up, did you ever think you would be a fighter?
Oh, no, not even close. I mean, fighting for me when I was younger was always more of like an entertainment aspect. I used to love watching Kung Fu movies, like, what was it called? Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or any of the old like Jackie Chan movies, any of the old Bruce Lee movies. So I always loved martial arts when I was a kid, but I did like a little bit of Taekwondo for like 4th and 5th grade. And then it just kind of stopped there. I didn't get back into it until after my undergrad. Yeah.
Wow. And so, you from Florida originally?
Yeah.
Born and raised? Okay. And so the environment, do you feel like the environment shaped you to get into that lifestyle or not?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I want to say like, because growing up in Miami and here, like I got bullied when I was younger. And so part of that still is like that angry kid just trying to like let off some steam. But overall, I mean, I want to say I think like overall Florida was a conducive environment because of how like, climate the weather is, and there's a lot of access and resources to fighters out here. Like there's a lot of different gyms and high level competitors that come out here. It was never something like that I ever planned on getting into. It was always something that I just had like in the back of my mind, like a bucket list item, like a what if.
Gotcha.
And then I just did it. When was it? It was right after I was done with college. Like, right after I was done with college, I was studying for my MCATs. And I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I've always wanted to try it. Let me just go to a jiu-jitsu gym. And then from then, it just kind of like the bug hit me. And I just kept going like, what if I just do one competition? What if I just do like, one little kickboxing tournament? Let me see how that, and then just kept going and going and going. And
so I've always, man, there's literally endless questions that come up when I think about this stuff. And so, you having that mindset of what if and really diving into something where most people would be scared. Nobody wants to get hit at the end of the day. Where do you feel like you developed that mindset from?
I think what got me to jump in again was that what if. It was like I didn't want to be old and then look back and like, man, I should have done it. Like, man, I probably would have had that that skill in me I never knew I had. Because when I was younger and I was in Taekwondo, all my mentors or senseis at the time would try to get me to competition. They're trying to get me to travel with them for the travel team. And my mom would be like, how much? And she's like, no, we're not doing that. And she didn't know, like, she's like, no, this is just for after school. It's a little workout. You're going to get that done. We're not going to go on the weekends. We're not going to go travel to Tampa or something like that. Like, she's like, no, we're just going to get it done for after school and you're going to come back home and that's it, and do your homework.
Got it.
And so I always wondered, like, were they all gassing me up? Was it ever true? And then, I've always watched UFC. Like, I watched UFC like a lot more in high school, but like, it was always something that I watched. WWE is also something I always watched. I always wanted to compete. And then so when I first started, I was like 3 months in, and someone else was training for a kickboxing fight at my gym. And I was like, I want to try that. I want to train for kickboxing. So I asked the coach, he's like, if you show up to training like twice a week at least, I'll find you a fight. I was like, all right, bet. So then I just made sure I kept going. And then they found me a fight, and I was only in the gym for about 5 months at the time.
Wow.
And it was terrible. I won, but it was like the ugliest bar fight you've ever seen in your life. And from then, like, I hate half-assed something. I hate like looking at something like that's what I have to show for. Like that's when I'm gonna like show other people like that I tried it. And like I'm like, nah, I'm gonna do it again. So I'm like, so I kept going at it, trying to do it again, make sure I can like get better and better. And like part of me is I just hate being bad at something. So my first fight, even though I only won because I got less tired than the other guy.
Gotcha.
Like, but it was just the ugliest brawl I've ever seen in life. And so from then, I'm like, I'm just getting a little bit better. But I never thought I'd go for belts. I never thought I'd actually like do it as an actual career path. I thought it'd just be like a little hobby, something on the side, something that can just do to keep me in shape. And then, but I just kept winning.
Damn. So. And so, even with that, I just kept winning mindset. How much growth happens from one fight to the next fight?
Oh, it's massive, because there's always something you could have done better. Like, especially when you watch tape and you see stuff other people don't see, so you see things that you kind of get subconscious about. And so it always like fixing that small mistake from the next fight. Okay, like my cardio was ass this fight, I got to get better at that. Okay, my kicks were terrible that fight, I got to get better at that. My head movement was like, listen, my first fight, everyone said my head movement. I kept getting hit like a peasant dispenser. So I was just like pop my head back. I was just marching through shots. I'm like, okay, we're gonna work on head movement this time. And so it's those little wins when you can see it from video to video, like from fight to fight, of like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not doing that anymore, and then you see yourself becoming a whole fighter that I really enjoy. It feels like building a character in a video game. Like you're just starting to get like little experience boosts from each fight you go to.
Got it. And how does it feel, because I used to box long time ago, and I went up for Golden Gloves, and the dude ran around and completely cardioed my life. And I lost to points.
I know that feeling. So I know that feeling.
After that, I was just like, man, I don't want to dive in that deep to take it that serious, but he had been growing up in it. And so how does it feel, somebody that took it kind of casually when they were younger, going against guys who were like born into the sport pretty much?
No, you're absolutely right on that, because I've always had a little bit of that imposter syndrome where I'm like, I got into it when I was 24 and I'm 29 now. And I'm thinking like, yeah, there are kids who've gone to Olympics who have their dad owns a gym, their uncle owns a gym, and they've been training them since they were like out the womb. And I'm thinking like, how am I going to compete with those guys? And it wasn't until I just kept doing it. Like, it wasn't until I would get to that level where I'd match up against those guys, and then either I'd get close to winning or I'd win. Then I'm like, oh snap! Like I'm actually it. Like it's not, it's not just a facade. Because at first I'm like, okay, I'm beating divorced dads. I'm beating dads like that are doing it as a hobby. Because sometimes some competitions you fight a guy who's like in their late 30s or in their 40s, and like or sometimes you get matched up against guys that are just doing it as a hobby. But I just start going against those killers, those kids that are like, come straight out the womb doing it, and I can go toe to toe with them. That's when I like feel like, okay, yeah, this is actually a real path.
And so what is the difference in training for a regular fight versus training for a belt fight?
I mean, cardio is the main thing, the amount of endurance, because it's extra rounds, extra time. One thing I do know is the ref isn't as babysitting as much. Like usually when you're going for an amateur fight, a regular amateur fight, the ref's gonna stop the fight a lot quicker.
Okay. And
because they don't want anybody to get hurt. But when it's belt on the line, they're gonna let it rock. Like, so if someone gets knocked down, if someone is like a little woozy, they're gonna like let them take a little bit more damage than they usually would. So it's a little more intense. But yeah, mainly it's like cardio, man. Like you have to train like at least 3 times as much for a belt fight as you do for a regular fight.
And so what exactly is training? What does training look like?
Oh man, I mean, it's everything. It's calisthenics. It's long endurance training. It's sparring. It's drilling, just combinations. I mean, you know, as a boxer, so it's doing everything you're already doing, like for regular training, and then it's like you're gonna have Shark Tanks. You're gonna have where you're the one man in the middle, and every minute your coach is swapping a fresh opponent with you, and they're doing that for 10 plus rounds. Wow. And you only get like a 30-second break in between for a little bit of water, and you're just getting dragged and mugged. and every training session is just hell until, because it's like, what is it, like you sweat during training so you don't bleed during the fight. And that's still how it is. So you make sure the hard part's during training, and then when you get to the fight, it's easy.
Got it. And so I know how it feels to have multiple rounds back to back, but from your point of view, to definitely let the audience in on that, how long are the rounds?
So for amateur MMA, the rounds is 3-minute rounds.
Okay.
And then, they're changed for a little bit, but for the belts, for championship, it might be 5 3-minute rounds. Yeah.
And so, I know, for our rounds, going through it and then sitting back in the corner or whatever, like that time in there might seem super quick to the audience, but it feels like hell in there. And so,
Exactly.
what is your thought process of once you finish the round and you go back to your corner real quick, or you go to the next round, what are you thinking as far as like, as the fight progresses?
I mean, it's a lot of stuff. It's mainly like how much I have left in the tank, whether or not I'm down in points or not. You have to think about like how the fight goes. You need to have a coach that's gonna be real with you, whether or not tell you, like, because if you have a coach who's a yes man, who's just gonna gas you up, then you might think that you're winning and you try to coast the rest of the round, and then you have to lose it to a judge's decision. You don't want that. So always like knowing realistically where you are at in the fight, how much you have left to do, what you're getting caught with, what the guy's getting caught with, how easy it is, So like my last fight, Buddy wasn't blocking takedowns. I was like, all right, bet from rounds 2 and 3, that's all we're gonna do then. That's all. And then sure enough, that's what it was. So you kind of just take that little piece and just go with it, ride with it. Gotcha.
And so even in pivoting during the match that way, how often or how typical is it for it to go for like a knockout?
That's the thing. Like, if you chase a knockout, you're not gonna get it. And that's funny. My first knockout, I didn't even get because I was going for it, like, because I was like trying to get the guy. It just happened. Like, it's always the punch you don't feel, like the punch that's like the lightest that ends up catching somebody, because it's what they don't see coming. So if you try to like dig for a knockout, you're never gonna get it. It's always like the cleanest, crispiest shots what's gonna get it.
Gotcha.
Let's Deontay Wilder, because if you're Deontay Wilder, just do it.
Yeah. And so you have how many belts is that?
4 belts and a chain. I mean, this is supposed to be a belt, but
okay,
they're doing something different with this one. This is Flex Fights. Shout out to them for their because they're a New York promotion. I'm going back in August to unify it, but for their Florida branch, they just have to give out chains instead of belts. So yeah.
I mean, it's a dope chain though.
Yeah, it is.
And so when you're fighting for these belts, like, those are all the same division, or how do the belts work?
Yeah, no, they're all for the 145. Well, actually, no, this one's kickboxing. So let me break it down. So 3 of these are for MMA, 1 is for jiu-jitsu, and this one is for kickboxing. So the kickboxing belt was the 158, I believe, pound bracket for kickboxing and Muay Thai. This one for jiu-jitsu was for 155, and then all the belts are for 145 for MMA. So gotcha. they all have their certain weight division that they're in. But usually in jiu-jitsu, they don't only give belts because normally all like money matches and stuff. But for this particular promotion, they were having like, a champ and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay. And when you're, defending a belt or fighting for a belt, how do the rankings work as far as like going up? Like, how do you rank better as far as like, you said you're number 2. And so how does that increase you? Does it increase you by belts, or you just have to have pure wins, or?
So that's one thing I've never been sure about, actually, because there's been dudes on Tapology. Tapology is the official database that they use for both amateurs and pros to rank fighters. And there's been fighters who have more wins than me, but are ranked lower than me. And I think it's by finish. I think it's whether or not you get actual finish or a decision, or whether or not you beat somebody else. So obviously, if you get 6 wins, but everyone you fought was, like noobs, you just fought guys that were 0-0, 0-1, who had no records, that's not going to be as high as someone who's going 4-0 maybe, but all they fought like high caliber dudes,
Gotcha. Okay.
So, and then also whether or not you finish them. If you went by decision by all of them versus if you went by actual stoppages, then that's a different story too.
Gotcha. And how, you said you're going to go pro.
Yeah.
And so in going pro, what does that look like? What does that transition look like?
It's I mean, it's gonna be a big jump in competition. I mean, what form I'm getting paid. So in the state of Florida, not allowed to get paid as an amateur. So now I'm actually gonna get paid for fights. Lets people back in out of fights, because that's a big issue. In amateur, amateur is so saturated with politics and with people who cherry pick. Just like in boxing, people cherry pick their opponents.
Yeah.
But it probably is still worse in boxing, but it's still like permeates.
If they see like it doesn't look
Exactly.
good, they're out of there.
Exactly. There's so many guys that I was supposed to fight that we were scheduled to fight for like a month straight, and they pull out 2 weeks before.
Damn.
And like they'll pull out because they do the research. They look at a video about me, they see it like, oh, I've got 4 first round finishes, and they're like, okay, yeah, we're not doing that. And they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose their O. They're an amateur. They're not making any money, but they might be 7-0. They might be 8-0, and they don't want to put that on the line because they want to ride that train into when they get their contract as a pro.
Got it.
But once you go pro, you go back to being 0-0 again, and no one knows because there's so many guys that I know who had a good record when they were amateur, but they were sheltered, and then they go pro and they get knocked out, and then they go pro and they lose their like lose in the first round, and it's just I never want that to happen. That's why I fought the top guys. Even my first losses were against guys that were other champs that were like either 5-0 or 5-1, and both in my decision. One of them I'm still mad about because it was the guy's home gym, and I lost by split decision. It was his home turf, but it is what it is. And I'd rather it happen there and I get that experience out of it than for it to happen when it's money on the line.
No, absolutely. And so, how important is that you work with your coach one-on-one? How often?
Yeah, very often. I mean, like, again, shout out to Coach Mike. He's literally for this fight, because for our gym, usually they'll try to get as many fighters as they can to a particular promotion. So if we're going to a promotion, in order to make it worth it for them, they'll try to get at least like 5 of us, 6 of us out there, all on the card stacked together, so that way they can all, like, my main coach, Coach Mike, and then our wrestling coach, Coach Spaz, and then our striking coach, Coach Demi. Well, they'll all ride out together. Again, no money on their part. Like, we don't pay them at all. They can do it volunteer. They'll drive us out there. They'll carry our stuff during the weight cuts, during the weigh-ins. Like, hold our bags for us, all that kind of stuff, and completely of their own, just pure passion of it. And so, for me, it's always been difficult because guys back out, so I'd always get like the short end of the stick. But Coach Mike, he said like, "Hey, you're about to go pro," so he personally rode out. He left his wife and kid at home, drove me to my fight for the weigh-in, carried my stuff with me, make sure I was fed, make sure I had my water, make sure I had my electrolytes, everything like that. Just for me. Like, usually he'd go for like 3 to 4 fighters to make it worth it, but no, just for me, he made sure to get this done because he how important it was for me. And so for him, like, that one-on-one time is like, and it's irreplaceable. Like, you can't proceed without having someone that has your back like that. And even though I travel, I'll cross train, I'll go to other gyms, I'll go to gyms that are in Miami or gyms that are in like West Palm or in Sunrise, but that Fort Myers gym, that Fight Me Combat, will always be like my home base because they're the ones that are gonna be looking out for me, make sure I'm on weight, making sure I'm not sloppy, making sure I'm not out there doing stupid stuff out in the streets like that. Making sure I'm coming back to check in, that I'm still holding it. I'm still holding myself accountable and holding myself up to that standard. So that's why like having that. So again, someone being real with you, and someone who's gonna like look at you and like tell hey, you're getting, like, all the time they tell me I'm getting fat. And for it to like I'll leave for a fight and then I'll come back like 15 pounds heavier and like they'll look at me and then make a whole example in the gym like, okay, Cheesecake's back. He's been eating too many cheesecakes. We got to get him back in shape.
So how'd you get that name, Cheesecake?
That was from my coaches too. So before even fighting, I was always into cooking, and I made my dad a cheesecake back in like 2015 for Father's Day, and he loved it and raved that to the whole family. So then, since then, friends, family, and doesn't matter if it's for a bar mitzvah, it could be for your second cousin's wedding, they'd hit me up for a cheesecake. They'd always just ask me, "Hey, Blake, can you bring a cheesecake?" It got to the point where I couldn't afford to keep like giving out for free. I started selling them, and then it just blew up from there.
Wow!
And then so when I went to these gyms, I wouldn't even pay to go to the gym. I just offer a cheesecake to train here. I'd be like, "Hey, I want to train here for a week. Can I just like give you a cheesecake?" And then they accepted it, and it stuck around with me. And then so my first amateur fight, they were asking me for a nickname, and then my coach went behind my back and signed the name and put Cheesecake on it. And I didn't find out until after the announcer came back to me and asked me how to say my name. He said, "Okay, so it's Blake Cheesecake Torsion." I'm like, looked around, I'm like, and then I saw my coach like snickering in the background, and then that was it. It just stuck from there. So
damn,
that's the brand now.
Okay, but I mean, it's a good brand because I was watching one of your clips and you're like, "Bakery's open, bitches."
Yeah.
And I feel like that's so brandable and it's nice because it's like, yo, and it's moments like that you see, somebody building their brand to the next level. And, it's catchy. It helps people to not only remember you, but you know, if they never even saw your fight, that statement alone is just like it's out there. And so no, that's dope. And so when you go pro, you keep the same coaches, right?
Yeah. I mean, as far as this for right now, like the only going to change probably like my matchmakers, because obviously when you get to the industry, like you need like an actual professional manager, matchmaker.
Okay.
But for like my conditioning for my training, yeah. Because that's another thing. My coach also trains Nico Price. Nico Price is the current UFC fighter at welterweight right now. I think he's in number 18 or 17 in the rankings, but he's high level fighter. He's a bully, but I love him though. He's like that. He's like that typical big brother that's just gonna sit there and like, you know, beat your ass, but then also like, you know, give you a hug afterwards. But yeah.
And so now that you are going pro, you know, you're getting ready to get into that phase. You know, what's your goal there? Because at first, you just like you said, you're like, yeah, I'm just keep going and doing it, you know. But do you have a definitive goal for that now?
I mean, yeah, essentially, I just want to use that platform, honestly, and sell cheesecakes. Like, I'm going to get as far as I can go with it and ride that nickname. End goal is to have some kind of little business on the side where I can either sell, like, keto cheesecakes to fighters, you know, so people that also might circumstances where they're weight cutting, they have a sweet tooth and they want to have something on the side. So that's my end goal is like, I might be like, you know, Patty's Pies, but instead of eating Blaze cheesecakes at Walmart, and so I'll have like either like a regular cheesecake and a keto variety. But that's my main stuff. I want to get like some kind of sponsorship, do some kind of brand endorsement like that where I can just put my name on it and you'll see me in stores. And then
now that's dope. And that's lucrative at the same time. And so, you know, I wanted to bring that up too, you know, being financially literate when it comes to, you know, professional things, because to some people, you know, oh, that's not that big of a bag. They get paid, you know, 40,000, 50,000. Hey, that's
for a while. That's consistent.
Yeah.
Nah.
And so outside of just the cheesecakes, you know, do you have any business history to like start a business, grow a business?
Not at all. No, because I have a day job. You know, I do nuclear medicine, and that keeps the lights on. That pays the bills. But in terms of actually like starting a business and like maintaining a business, like no, I have no experience in that whatsoever. So I'm just gonna play that slowly and just try to keep it like, you know, just keep it steady. Because again, I don't want to jump into the first thing I see. I want to like just like get as much recognition out there, as much, you know, exposure out there, and then come to the table when I have, you know, a lot more a lot more leverage. There you go.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that makes sense. And so you mentioned keto. You know, what are some of the diet plans you have to stick to when you're preparing for a fight or being a fighter before and after?
Yeah, I mean, again, when you're a fighter, it's basically you just say goodbye to carbs. You can't have carbs. No, you can't have carbs without it back. You can't have carbs right before training, because usually if you're trying to be a fighter, like it's this high protein diets, like almost no carbs, lots and lots of water, like talking like a gallon of water a day, especially during weight cut periods. So whenever I'm getting ready for a fight, you know, I walk around like 165, like about 165, 170. When I get heavy, I'm like 170. But about 3 weeks out is when the weight cut actually happens, and so that's when you'll just really like stop eating at night. Make sure like you're just like eating for volume. So again, like no rice, no bread, no pasta. It's gonna be like just a lot of salad, a lot of lettuce, a lot of cabbage, you know, a lot of just stuff to make you feel full, but it's just all empty calories.
Yeah.
It's not even calories, but empty food essentially. And then just high protein. And as you get closer to that weight cut week, you're just kind of slimming down your appetite. So you kind of go from, again, like maybe 3 meals a day to 2 meals a day to when it's like the week of, it's like maybe only like 1 real meal a day, and like the rest is just like slim fast shakes, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And then from there
what
on,
about after?
Yeah. And then after I pig out, man. I ball out. I'll have like every restaurant that I want to go to like saved like on either a list on my phone, like from IG reels or from TikTok reels, and then I'll have like a bunch of Keith Lee videos saved up. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go there, and then again, it's like probably a week where I'm like, you know, pigging out, and then I'll go back to like, okay, I gotta eat healthy again. We're getting ready for the next fight. Gotcha.
And so now that you're this deep into MMA, you know, what does your family think about this?
Oh yeah, no, my mom and dad hate it, but it's funny because I'm a Haitian. I come from a Haitian background, so for them, they're like, no, you go to school, you're gonna be a doctor, and you're gonna be done. And like, you know, like they didn't like the idea of me fighting, of me getting hurt, or anything like that. And it when what was it? What was that quote again? There was a meme I have on my page where it was a sound bit from is it CJ Fletcher, the bodybuilder?
Yeah, the bodybuilder dude.
And he was saying and he goes like, oh, my mom always said like, oh, I'm worried about you. You're gonna get hurt out there. And it's like, no, mom, you should worry about them. And so my favorite memory of that was my mom had family over for like Thanksgiving, and they all found out that I fought. You know, it came through the grapevine of just WhatsApp groups, and then everyone was asking me about it because I was like, by then I had, I think, only 3 belts, and they were just like, oh yeah, what do you think about Blake fighting? You know, he's good. You know, I saw all this stuff on Instagram. You know, he's doing well. And I was like, oh no, I hate it. I don't want to see him get hurt. You know, I don't know what he's doing out there, but these men are gonna hurt him. And so I went back to the car. I came back. I dropped 3 belts on the table like that, and I'm like, I'm not getting hurt, mom. I'm gonna be fine. And then that to me was like that perfect, like just I got this moment that my mom couldn't reject. She couldn't, like, no matter how much she was worried. I'm like, I'm doing something right, like, you know. And that was that was one of like just like the perfect just comeback moments for your parents. You don't get too many of those, you know. You don't get...
No, that's dope. And so, man, you know, just even the mindset that you maintain while doing this, you know, how do you keep yourself focused mentally in the ring? You know, physically, you know, you got the training and everything like that, but what goes on during your week or your preparation that you ingest as far as like mental content?
Oh, I mean, to be honest, it's food. I'm food motivated. So all I'm thinking about is like, this guy has got me weight cutting here. I'm in the sauna. I'm running. I'm thinking about like, you know, like once I get to that finish line and I can eat whatever I want, like I'm gonna make this guy pay to make me go through this, having to cut all this, having to, you know, like not eating crumble cookies, not eating any cheesecakes, you know. So that is what really gets me over. It's just making sure that I'm doing it all for a reason, and that, you know, like whatever it is I'm going through, you know, like it's nothing, because like once I get there, I'm gonna actually get it done. It's gonna be like this is the hard part. Basically, like whatever I'm weight cutting, whatever I'm training, like that's the hard part. And once I get in there, like it doesn't even matter. Like it's just everything there's gonna be cakewalk.
And then, you know, how real are the semantics? Like before the fight, like, you know, posting each other online and, you know, talking shit and you know, lining stuff up, because you see it. And a lot of people, for some of the bigger fighters and whatnot, they're like, oh, they're just, you know, promoting for the fight. It's fake, you know, whatever. Like, is that real? Is it fake?
I mean, for this fight, it was real. Yeah, for this fight, it was hella real. And it's because it was the first time I ever had any real built up beef. Like usually it's like there's no money involved. It's just slight banter. And so it'd always be like, you know, a little bit of like, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna finish her, I'm gonna do that. But for this fight, for this particular fight, me and him were supposed to fight a month prior, and he pulled out. He pulled out right before. And so I reached out to him and asked him, like, yo, why'd you pull out? And then he just told me, oh, it's politics, blah, 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 don't worry about it. But, you know, I'm fighting this promotion, Combat Night. And I said, okay, well, then if you want to fight there, we'll just fight there then. And like, because I don't see what the issue is. And then he said, oh, so you think you're so high? You think, you know, I'm scared of you? I'm like, no, like, you know, if you don't want to fight me here, I'll fight you on your home turf. It doesn't matter. We're going to fight. And then from then on, we talked to the promoters, made the fight happen ourselves. And he just kept talking shit for like a month straight, at least like 3 posts a week. I would get like a notification on Instagram. And at first I was quiet and I'm just going to let it go, let it rock. But he just wouldn't stop. He just kept going on and on. Buddy's a SoundCloud rapper. I think he's trying to find his way of making clout. And also what made it funny is that it happened at the same time of the Kendrick Drake beef. And I think he was trying to build up his own narrative, beforehand. So he was trying to like, you know, line it up, you know, like just parallel it to us. And I'm like, okay, if we're going to go down that, we're going to go down that route. So I started going into my group chat and we started making memes back at him and just clowning him each and every way. And then he showed up to the weigh-ins in a full gladiator armor suit. And I'm like, you're taking it way too seriously, bro. And so I came clowning him with a cheesecake because he was 6-0. So I'm gonna give him his first L. So I had a cheesecake with an L on it. And then, you know, he didn't like it. He didn't take that too kindly to that. Still taking it seriously, trying to like, you know, put these long like philosophical quotes on IG about like what he's gonna do to me and how this ain't the game anymore. Also, this all talk. And then again, he gets his ass beat for 3 rounds. Still talk shit afterwards, saying that, oh, that I got lucky, that he just didn't train properly. Spent a whole month talking shit before, but then talks about how he didn't train properly. I'm like, what? So just Twitter fingers, man. Like,
so would you give him a rematch?
I give him a rematch when he goes pro.
Okay.
Like right now, there's no reason to because I'm about to go pro right now. Like I've got 2 more fights that are out of state. So I'm going to fight in New York and in Wisconsin because they don't wear shin pads there. So I want to get that experience out the way. And if he wants to come back around when we go pro on combat night, because combat has got a pro circuit, like he knows when to fight me, I'll take a free paycheck. So yeah, that's an easy paycheck. I'll take that right immediately.
And so what's the gap in between fights usually?
It depends. Preferably when things go right. For amateur, you want like, about a month to 2 months in between fights. For pro, it's usually about 3 months in between fights. But people keep ducking and dodging, and it's politics are at work and all sort of crap. So it just depends.
Okay, cool. And so if it was, somebody you could have like, let's say like a, how when basketball they say, take a celebrity shot. Like if you could have just like a celebrity coach for a month, that's a fighter, who would it be?
Mighty Mouse Johnson immediately. Yeah. Demetrius, the Mighty Mouse Johnson, like that's the GOAT, man.
What about him do you like?
Everything, man. He does everything perfect. Like he boxes like a boxer. He kicks like a Muay Thai dude. He wrestles like a D1 wrestler. Like there's no hole in his game, and like the level of skill he's achieved in terms of like how seamlessly he can like blend each particular discipline is just unreal. So if I would ever take any kind of cues from anybody or any kind of mentorship like that, I'd sleep at his dojo if I could. Like that's
Gotcha.
He's the man. And he's who I try to emulate whenever I try to go in there. That's why I want to be as perfect or as close to perfect as he is, because he doesn't have a single hole, like a single fault. People talk about like John Jones, but John Jones is taller fighters.
Yeah.
People talk about how Anderson Silva had issues with wrestling, but like Mighty Mouse did it all against all. Always had a strategy. Always had something in his back pocket. I mean, that's how I want to be. That's how I want to emulate my career.
Gotcha. I was just about to ask that. They say they know certain fighters for certain disciplines or different styles. What would you be defined as? Like when somebody gets in the ring with you, they know you're gonna focus on this or you're gonna do this.
I mean, most guys know about my jiu-jitsu. They know I'm a grappler, but I've got like 3 or 4 knockouts. So 3 in MMA. Three knockouts in MMA and then 1 in kickboxing. So it's like I'm making sure I have no empty spot. Like you can try whatever you want to do, whatever you think is your best game plan, but like I'm gonna have an answer for it. But definitely like in terms of what's people are most scared of is it's my jiu-jitsu, my ground game. Like guys, because it's funny because my second and third fight, guys would take me down. And then I ended up like submitting them within the first round. I think my third fight was like a 38-second armbar, and then my fight after that was like another armbar that happened within like the first minute and a half. And then some guys stopped taking me down, and then it started being like more so like they would just do like a little bit of clinching, and then they'd run away at me. Like they like I said, my first loss, Buddy would take me down, hug me as tight as he could for like a solid minute and a half. Until the ref would be like, "Hey, action!" He'd throw 1 punch and go back to hugging me, and then he cheesed me. Like it was my first time seeing that kind of strategy in amateur, because in amateur you have 3 minutes. So he literally just took me down, didn't move, just bear hugged me, like literally just bear hugged me around my waist for a solid minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then by the time we stood back up, the round was over.
Damn.
And so I'm like, yeah. So that was my own fault, because again, I didn't expect that kind of cheese. I didn't expect that kind of like slimy strategy, but it's legal, so I can't complain about that, It's from then on, like I didn't let that happen again. Like it's one of those formative memories. I'm like, okay, you're not doing that to me again.
Got it. No, that's a good insight. I never really thought about it as a strategy like that, but it makes sense, especially for pro, because there's money on the line.
Exactly.
Like, they're trying to win. They're not trying to be extra fancy or anything like that.
They'll do just enough for the ref not to send him back up. But they'll just sit there and hug you and hold you and like literally cuddle in your ear. Like they'll just sit there and rub heads and just sit there on top of you and then not do a thing, not even throw a punch until they have to.
Got it. Okay. And so how many fights do you have total?
Oh, I mean, I don't even know, because in MMA I have 8, but for kickboxing I think I am also 6-2 in kickboxing. I guess because it's hard to know which ones were even sanctioned in that. So I think I'm also 6-2 in kickboxing, and if it's jiu-jitsu, it's a blur, because jiu-jitsu it's not even all one-on-one fights. It's like tournaments as well.
Gotcha.
So I've done a bunch of tournaments, and I have gold medals from those tournaments, but like those were just like smaller stuff. So I don't even count those. Like this one was actually like, you know, something that had like a high level. I think the guy who else I went against for this belt too was like number 7 in the world. Yeah, shout out to Brelin Carell. I'm sorry, Brelin Carolyn. I don't know. I'll find him out there later. But yeah, the Brazilian kid, he's dope. He's the one that ended up beating me afterwards. Before I was the champ for this belt. No, sorry, after I was champ for this belt when he came back. Yeah, because I was interim champ and then he came back and beat me for it. And it was a close match. We ended up going to overtime with it. But that kid was like number 7 in the world at jiu-jitsu for that weight class. And it's like those. I'm sorry, I went off in a question, but those type of competitors was when I met going back before was like, you know, like I felt like I wasn't a fake anymore. Like I wasn't like just, you know, somebody who just stumbled into this. Where it's like, you know, I was able to go the full round with him, go into overtime, and I lost by like it was like a 10-second time difference in overtime. It was great, yeah.
No, that's a good lineup. So we've entered the part of the podcast where we call this gem drops.
Got it.
So if somebody stuck along long enough, we want to teach them, you know, if they want to get into, you know, fighting, understand, you know, tips and tricks that would be inside game or stuff like that they wouldn't know going into it, just starting off, to give them a head start.
Give somebody a head start. Let me see. I probably look at the camera. I'd say whenever you go into a fight, like this is probably the biggest thing is you're not who you think you are. The main thing I remember that is like there are some guys who got an ego. They think that like when they get mad, they're gonna see red. They're gonna get some kind of like Hulk rage power up. That doesn't happen to me. That doesn't have like anger and emotion are not your friend when you compete and when you go in the ring. If you sit there and you think that, you know, if you just get somebody riled up and mad enough that you're gonna go out there and they're gonna like unleash the beast, it's not gonna happen. You're gonna gas out and you're gonna get your ass beat rounds 2 and 3. You might do a little flurry round 1, but you're just gonna end up having an adrenaline dump and you're just gonna literally have nothing left to rounds 2 and 3. So main thing I can say is conserve yourself. Learn how to block. The defense is always most important. So before you learn how to do anything else, learn proper defense. Like learn how to block a punch, learn how to do footwork, learn how to not cross your feet when you're throwing a punch. Like those are what decides fights, not just, you know, who can like get the first knockout. Like it's not getting knocked out is what's more important than to knock somebody out. So yeah.
No, that's major. That's super major. And I was just about to ask that, you know, what do you feel like is obviously the training, but the biggest difference between somebody fighting in the ring and somebody fighting in just life?
The biggest difference, you think?
Yeah, like what makes that fighter? Because, you know, there's been videos, it doesn't happen too often, but some people who fight in the ring lose to people who street fight, and more often people who street fight lose to people who regularly fight.
I was gonna say the biggest difference is preparedness. That's it. Like just having that preparation, having that consistency. I think people who fight on a regular, like they just know their limits. They know what they're capable of. I think like most fighters, like 99% of them, nicest dudes in the world. Those are dudes that will never get into a bar fight. Like that's why when you see like those like highlight reels of like, you know, somebody get into a bar fight, it's usually because someone else started it. And that's what's funny too, is like I never even knew about hate mail until after this particular fight, where I was getting random DMs from dudes I never met before who want to fight me, and I'm like, this is it's like that's how I knew I made it, because my mentor Nico Price, he gets it all the time. Like he'll have just like random dudes in backwater Alabama, or even like from just, you know, from the streets of New York, that just still sit there, slide into his DM, and be like, I could take you. Like you're not that tough, and it's just, you know,
and they're like real fighters.
No, they're just random Joe Schmo, just divorced dads, bro. Like these are dudes that just have nothing else going in life, that want to feel like they're hard, want to feel like they're tough, and that happened for the first time. I was getting, because again, this dude's a SoundCloud rapper. I was getting his SoundCloud rapper goons in my DMs that were like, "You can't fight for shit. You're a bitch. You don't know how to fight."
Damn.
And I told him, I responded to one. I told him to sign the waiver, and he said, "Nah, I don't fight. Go band for me." And I'm like, if that was it, that was the whole conversation. But
wow,
I would say, yeah, it's just, again, like ego is a big thing. When every fighter who's trained consistently has had their ego checked immediately and humbled. Like when I first started jiu-jitsu, I think I was there for about 2 months, and I got mass beat by a 15-year-old white girl.
Oh damn!
And she like I was trying to like manhandle her, and she just kept putting me in armbar after armbar after armbar. Like she Ronda Rousey's my ass, and that's when I knew like this shit actually works. Like this is the real deal. And something happened where I was doing jiu-jitsu and I fell in love with it because I'd have like college athletes, Marines, cops, you know, they'll all come in, you know, to jiu-jitsu like after I was already there for like about a year or 2 years in, and they're off the street, they just want to learn, just want to practice, and they would try, you know, to manhandle me, and I would just like playing with like children. Like someone who doesn't know versus someone who's been training for a year is like night and day. Like the difference in terms of what they can do to you and what you can do to them is just drastic. Like drastic. And most people don't understand that. Like most people just think that, oh, you know, it's just like, you know, like if I just get mad enough, I'm gonna Hulk smash. Yeah. That's my favorite part is when I'll get those meatheads that come into the gym. They wanna spar. They wanna, you know, test their manhood. And so okay, go on, let's go. We'll spar. They'll go for like 20 seconds, gas out, like, hey, time out, bro, time out. I'm like, no, the bell didn't ring yet. There's no timeout. Yeah. And I'll sit there and I'll play with them and I'll just toy, you know, block, I'll dodge a punch, whatever. They're just swinging haymakers. And then after like the fifth punch, they're tired and they want to have a timeout. And I'm like, there's no timeout in the streets. And then that's the best part. That's like the most humbling part. That and when they get a leg kick, like anybody who's never been leg kicked before, like you.
Oh yeah, that hurts.
That's the immediate attitude adjustment. Everyone's bad till they get leg kicked. Yeah.
Damn, no, that's some good stuff. And so, you know, what would you say to your audience as far, you know, on your journey? Do you have like a development of fans, you know, because people start to get a following. When you start doing something at first, people might be like, oh, you know, okay, cool, that's cool. But then after you start winning, especially, and you start getting bigger, you start to get like an actual fan base, you know. And so what would you describe your fan base as?
I haven't come with a name for them yet. I don't even know. Like that's gonna be the next item on the list is to have a trademark, because again, they got Swifties, they got the Beehive for Beyonce. Yeah. I don't even know. I don't know. I'll let you know. You'll be the first person to know when I don't have a name for the crew. Yeah.
Fair. Okay. Well, Blake, you know, this was amazing. You know, thanks for coming down, bringing the belts. You know,
it, man.
Showing it. You know, we support you. You know, however, if we can ever make it to some shows, we'd love to be there.
Absolutely.
And you know, definitely anything you want to leave the audience with, the people with.
I don't know. Buy my cheesecakes. You know where to find me at. Blake Makes Cheesecake. It's not the last time I'll be here, so this is the last time I'll be here probably as an amateur. But definitely when I'm a pro, I'll have some more belts around 100%. That time. I'll come right back.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, this was good. You know, make sure you share this with a friend. This is Blake Cheesecake. You know what I'm saying? And this is here in the beginning. Trust me, because we've had people from season 1 come back, you know, this season on season 2, and it's been, you know, maybe like 7-8 months in between, and the changes that they've had in their businesses, their life have been like ridiculous. You know, one girl, I want to shout out is Bree. You know, she lived out here, she moved to Texas, bought 6 properties, went crazy with them, ended up doing something, ended up getting a scaling up her app that she had made, and is going absolutely insane right now. You know, she came back for season 2 and talked about it, and literally all of that happened within, you know, 7-8 months. And it's just like, man, you know, we've had designers go and come back, and they did shows in Milan, London, you know, Paris, like all of this stuff. And so seeing the growth of people, you know, that's why we like having this podcast, Attractive Mindset. You know, we bring people on, you know, and then we bring them back later, and you get to see that growth in personality and wealth and business and life and accomplishments. And man, I'm excited to see you come back as a pro with those belts.
I hope when I come back, I'll have an actual business model for that cheesecake business I'm telling you about, because that's the reason why I came out here too, because like I know that's my end goal, and I know like you're the Don, you're the entrepreneur like dude I know who I know can help me set that up. So that's exactly So once I'm ready for that, I'm gonna come back here with a full-on apron. I'm gonna have all the merch, everything.
Hey, we'll promote it. We have one of our sponsors is Coco Love, coconut water. Yeah,
Oh,
and they just started getting big. They just started getting put on cruise ships and all of that. And so we locked in right before they were big
tell them
too.
hit
And
me up.
so
Man, I love coconut water,
yeah,
man. Like
absolutely.
every weight cut, I should coconut water, man. Like I'll put it
Absolutely.
on my shorts if I got it. I'll put it on my
Yeah, it's keto friendly. It's all of that, and they just set up a base out here. James, he was on the podcast, so I introduced
That's
you to
dope.
him and all of that. But yeah, man, nah, thanks for coming down and just sharing
Definitely.
your story. Can't wait to have you back, man.
Appreciate it, man.
And so it's your host, Mastermind Moneybag
Okay.
Rich, and as we always say, we look good, we live good, life is good. Talk to us, we talk back, and we out.